friends, family, and my fellow graduates. We made it this far, but there's still a ways to go. Over the last 4 years at Verrault Regional High School, we have learned a lot. In accounting, Miss Compton taught us how to make spreadsheets, balance our spending, and create a 3-page long chart to figure out our total assets. Thus the reason I happily changed classes 2 weeks into the semester. Mr. Coffin taught us the importance of good insightful writing, speech, and debate. He tried to pluck and like out of a vocabulary sentence by sentence, but the most important lesson that he taught me was just how hard you have to work and the amount of dedication you need to have while representing your class during the 12 Days of Christmas competitions. And last but not least, Mr. Gallant. He taught us to never sweat the small stuff. This is his famous line that he gives to anyone stressed out or complaining over work. Many of us have always wondered what he meant by this. Well, if you would like to know, just ask him. He will be happy to lend you a 300-page book that will explain everything you need to know. Everything that we learned at Verrault will without doubt be valuable later on in life. I think that the most important thing that we have learned over the past 4 years together is how to be there for one another. Verrault being a smaller school, it takes everyone, students and staff alike, working together to learn as a team to make our education as effective as possible. Because Verrault is so small, we are more of a community than a school. We are friends, not just students and teachers. And we've become a family, not just peers in the classroom. I told you that the most important thing that we learned was how to be there for one another. Let me give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. In English class, no matter what the cause, Jed was more than willing to lend himself for the greater good of a speaker in their project, making multiple appearances in speeches and websites throughout the semester. Noah specifically took advantage of this, including Jed in many of his more popular speeches. Another example is our annual magazine campaign. It is the main fundraiser that is done every year for our high school, and we wouldn't be able to do our extracurricular activities like skiing without it. We all know that magazines are not nearly as popular as they used to be, but while knowing that it would be much harder than in the past, we didn't lower our standards, or our expectations, or our bottom line. While it took a few weeks longer than initially expected, the whole school came together and was able to reach the mark. I would like to give a special shout out to Katie, who sold the most magazines out of anyone in our school, and therefore raising us the most money. Next, I'd like to take a moment on behalf of myself and my fellow graduates to thank the people that have brought us here. I'd like to thank my chemistry teacher, Miss McGee, who drilled into my head, getting the right answer isn't everything. How you get there is important, so will you please just show me your work. Thank you to Mr. Murphy, who managed to make history class entertaining and lively, as well as hiding from the other teachers that we let them win the student-teacher hockey game on purpose. Thank you, Mr. Coffer, for being a great principal, scaring the daylights out of us in grade 9, and for making my grade 10 English class the best class I've ever had. Thank you, Mr. Reed, for keeping us in shape during gym classes, coaching our sports teams to multiple medals over the years, and for shooting the occasional half-court shot with us. You haven't made one yet, but keep trying and maybe someday you will. Thank you, Mr. Farrell, for showing us the path to take for a career after high school, for yelling your distinct rah-rah at sporting events, and for serenading us on our way through the doors in the morning. Thank you to Miss Menace for keeping everything running on schedule and for bringing down the hammer when needed. Today, we are high school graduates, and soon we will be signing each other's yearbooks and saying goodbye. We'll do our best to stay in touch, but we'll be living our own lives to their fullest potential. As a final thought, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Mark Twain. He once said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Thank you.